Hello friends, welcome to Shriram's. The topic for today's discussion is clinical trials and Covaxin. What is Covaxin? It is a possible vaccine against COVID-19. It will start human trials on over 1100 people in 2 phases starting this week. Bharat Biotech, an unlisted Indian vaccine manufacturer, received regulatory approval to start human clinical trials. Trials have to go through 3 phases with increased number of participants as they progress to check how safe and effective the remedy is before the regulator approves its use by the larger public. What are clinical trials and why are they conducted? Clinical trials are experiments or observations done in clinical research. Such biomedical or behavioral research studies on human participants involve new treatments such as novel vaccines, drugs, dietary choices, dietary supplements and medical devices, and known intervention that warrant further study and comparison. Clinical trials generate data on safety and efficacy. They are conducted only after they have received health authorities' ethics committee approval. These authorities are responsible for vetting the risk-benefit ratio of the trial. What is clinical research? It is a branch of healthcare science that determines the safety and effectiveness of medications, devices, diagnostic products, and treatment regimens intended for human use. How are the trials conducted? Depending on the product type and development stage, investigators initially enroll volunteers or patients into small pilot studies and subsequently conduct larger scale studies. Clinical trials can vary in size and cost and can involve a single research center or multiple centers in one country or in multiple countries. Clinical study design aims to ensure the scientific validity and reproducibility of results. Only 10% of all drugs started in human clinical trials become approved drugs. What is a clinical trial registry? A clinical trials registry is a platform which catalogs registered clinical trials. Clinical trial registration is a practice of documenting clinical trials before they are performed so as to combat publication bias, selective reporting, and increase transparency and access to clinical trials for the public. Clinical trial registries are often searchable. Trials are registered by the pharma companies or any related party. Some top medical journals will only publish the results of trials that have been pre-registered. The World Health Organization is working towards achieving consensus on both the minimal and optimal operating standards for trial registration. What is the policy in India? In April 2018, the Indian government made the registration of clinical trials in India mandatory to ensure transparency, safety, and quality standards across human trials. Drug Controller General of India made it mandatory for all researchers to register trials before they begin from 2018. Clinical Trials Registry India is Government of India's official clinical trial registry. The CTRI registers clinical trials or studies prospectively, that is, before the first participant is enrolled. The information should be in public domain and updated regularly for anyone to have access. Earlier, trials were being registered but retrospectively. The registry was launched in 2007 and trials registration was made mandatory by the Drug Controller General of India in 2009. Trial registration involves public declaration and identification of investigators, sponsors, interventions, patient population, etc. before recruitment. What are the issues with clinical trials? They relate to inadequate information being given to participants. Also, the compensation for any side effects on participants. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast.